What does it take to get into an elite business school? MBA Crystal Ball is a boutique admissions consulting firm. Each year, we help a select few applicants get into the world's best business schools. Here's one of our success stories to inspire and educate.
Hello and welcome to MBA Crystal Ball's YouTube channel. Today we have with us Aditya, a successful professional with over a decade of work experience, who worked with us to define his career path and made it happen through an admit to ISB's PGPMAX, the Executive MBA from ISB for senior professionals. Welcome, Aditya.
Yeah, hi. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks. Thanks for so much for doing this, Aditya. So, to begin with, can you talk our viewers through about, yourself and your qualifications?
Sure, yeah, okay. So I've done my engineering from Mumbai itself, from Mumbai University. I graduated mechanical engineering, and then I went on to pursue my MS from Clemson University in USA. I worked in the US for a couple of years, and ever since that, after working there, I've basically been working for Wilson Composites, which is my ninth year working for them now. And it was a pretty interesting opportunity that I had. It basically entailed me having to set up a base for their company in India. So it basically was like setting up a startup in India and Bombay. And in the last 5 6 years, especially after we set up an office for like design engineers and for estimators in Mumbai, we've expanded to have our own factory. So the company's like grown quite a lot in terms of numbers. They were about, say, just me at the start about 8 9 years ago, but now it's like grown to about 130 employees across Mumbai and Pune. Pune is where our factories are. So yeah, I mean, it's been great to see this growth, and that's largely what I do currently. Otherwise, with regards to my personal life, I basically stay with my wife and my daughter and my parents, and yeah, I have a brother who basically stays in Boston, USA. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So I think, taking a step back, when you mentioned about master, that's a very common thing that, a lot of Indian grads think about and, decide. So tell us, what was your decision-making process, and any kind of insights or tips or learning, that you had from your experience while during application or, during the master's itself?
Yeah. So with this masters, this will technically end up being like my second masters program after my MS. I always kind of contemplated doing an MBA about 10 years ago when I was about 28. Before I applied for my MS. So when I used to work in Mahindra, before that I worked as executive assistant to the managing director, and that kind of got me kind of exposure to a lot of people who were MBAs and board members in Mahindra, and that definitely got my interest up in management quite a bit. And it was like I was leaning towards doing an MBA at that point of time, but since I wanted to get international exposure and kind of do my MS in the US, and kind of learn more about operations and supply chain. I decided to go down that path. Obviously, I was pretty clear that I wanted to do an MBA at some point of time in the future. So my thought process basically was that I mean that was my general thought process for the last 10 years or so. I did kind of give the GRE in 2023 June. I gave the GRE. I can't say I did phenomenally well, but I did pretty well. I got like 320 at that point of time, which was a higher score than what I got when I applied for my MS about 10 years ago. I had a 314 at that point of time. And then I applied to few schools in India and abroad, and these were like full-time schools too. And I got into like a couple of full-time schools, which is IIM Lucknow's program for the executive MBA, the full-time one, and also Manchester Business School, which is like a good course, which is like top 50 in the world. So I was pretty happy about that. But then after speaking to certain individuals, like even yourself for that matter, I decided to go down the path of, going for the PGPMAX program, because a lot of people told me that at this stage in my career, I should pursue a program, although it's like part-time, it has a lot of value, this program in India and even like outside. So that's how I decided to go down the PGPMAX route, and decide not to opt for those full-time programs. And here I am. So, I mean, I think I have pretty much made the right decision with it, because the more I've read about this course, it definitely has a good reputation. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, walk us through the thought process that you had, right? I mean, when you were exploring the admits that you had two admits as you mentioned. I mean, so why were you in a dilemma? And I mean, also, you took up our career counseling service. So help us understand how that contributed to your decision making process. What was useful about that discussion.
Correct. So what happened after I got admission was, I mean, I was pretty, I had the mindset that a part-time MBA really doesn't have that much value in India as compared to certain part-time MBAs in schools abroad. That is what I generally knew. And for except for like I would say from what I've heard from my friends and other people, like except for the really top schools, it does. I mean, I do know the part-time MBAs do not bring that kind of value, but since I already had a master's in place in the form of an MS, I definitely wanted to like explore. I thought I'll be able to like, wanted to pursue one more full-time master's, ideally because I thought that would bring more value. But both the master's courses, that is, MBAs that I got into, were like aligned more towards people who are in their early 30s. Even when I interviewed with them, the people who interviewed me made that pretty clear. So I was already going to be one of the older people in the class. And the job opportunities after taking time off work, basically, wouldn't probably have been commensurate to what I was already getting paid
Right.
at this current company. And I began to honestly realize after I applied also that like it was like a bit of an afterthought that I felt like if I could do it in the form of a part time, I was pretty clear about that from the start itself. But like if I could do it for part time, having done a full time master's in the form of an MS, it takes quite a lot of out of you going to the campus and studying there and leaving work and all that. So when I got to know about this course, especially when I took your career counseling services, I kind of decided to go down this path. The reason I took your career counseling services in the first place was because I started getting a lot of mixed opinions after I got into the IIM Lucknow's course from friends and from family and all of that. And some of them were pro that I joined this course. I spoke to a family friend who's a senior person from IIT Bombay. He has a recruitment firm of his own. And he told me that don't do this course right now. It's a great course if you're in your early 30s, but not a great course if you're in your late 30s for you right now. So I started thinking around a different path. And since there was a bit of clash, if I were to call it that, I decided to like contact MBA Crystal Ball, and I got in touch with you to just understand. Initially, like I reached out to you only to ask some basic questions, but it led to a full blown career counseling session. And I'm glad I actually did it because it gave me a lot more clarity. It was very well charted out, my different career options there, what I would get from each of the schools that I'd already gotten into. That all was like mapped out for me. And then upon your suggestion, I decided to apply. Obviously, there was I wasn't sure I'd get in because this was already the third round of the PGPMAX, and I was fairly late. But yeah, I mean that's where I felt like if I'm going to take a chance in the third round, I'm going to like go ahead with taking your services because I already was in touch with you, and whatever process I'd seen was very thorough. So I decided to like proceed with that itself. And yeah, I mean, since I thought maybe that the chances of me getting into the third round would be like limited, so I decided to like just give it my best shot and go with your services, and it was the best choice I made. So no regrets there at all. It was fantastic, and that's pretty much my entire thought process behind what happened in the last 3 to 4 months while working with MBA Crystal Ball. Anyway,
Great. And just to kind of paraphrase, I think you said three things which contributed to your decision to let go of the program. I think one was your fit. The second you mentioned is about the career boost that you were not sure whether you will get any. And the third one was essentially about, I mean, the effort it would take for a full-time program, at this stage of your life and career. I think those are pretty good,
correct.
relevant points that a lot of people in this stage, would kind of benefit from. So thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of applied, and then tell us, how was the interview conducted? What was the sort of experience like when you interviewed for your application?
Right. So like after the application, which was a pretty thorough process after many iterations of working on recommendations and even with the letter. I mean the essays. I'm sorry, the essays too. I think we went on to the interview stage. I had about 5 days to prepare from the time I got an interview call from the PGP Max program, and I took up your interview services for that. And yeah, I mean, there were like 2 interviews conducted, which is just perfect for those 5 days, I would say. The questions asked were very means in our mock interviews, the questions asked were very relevant. They were to the point. I felt like when I eventually attended the interview or got to the interview, I was confident because I mean I knew of what all could be thrown at me. Eventually, the final interview was not as complex as some of the questions that we discussed during the mock interviews. But I would say the interview didn't really go completely to plan. I was pretty nervous at the start, but as time went on in the interview, I kind of got past that nervousness, and it got things got smoother. And yeah, I mean, I kind of it ended fairly strongly, I would say. And yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why I got through. Apart from that, I did kind of speak about what they asked me about my aspirations and what I wanted to do and all those things, which are like fairly regular questions, I believe, for people of this course. And I think all the people who interviewed me were for alumni of this course. So, I mean, they definitely understood what it takes to kind of do this course and get in and all that. And yeah, I'm glad I finally got in. Although I was a bit nervous for the last 2 weeks when before the result came, but I think it all ended up well. So
That's right. And I think, this is again a very important thing because you told me that you felt you had a shaky start to the interview, but you kind of kept at it. And, I think a lot of people feel that if you have a bad start, it's just gone. But, you kind of essentially proved that that's not the case.
true. I mean, I can speak not only for this interview, but even interviews like say the IIM Lucknow interview. I didn't start shakily out there.
Hmm.
But I mean, the only thing I'll tell people who interview in general, either for these kind of courses or even like full-time courses in general, is that sometimes you can be nervous and you can just like have makes mistakes yourself. In the IIM Lucknow interview, it was more like people the interviewers, they purposely try to rattle you a bit by trying to intimidate you in a certain way. The point is that both of these situations, either whether it's self-inflicted or whether it's like done by somebody else, it can kind of shake your confidence and kind of make you nervous. But I think without being too hard on yourself at that point in time, if you keep like you just relax and keep going with the flow, things definitely do get better. Is what I experience in these interviews. And yeah, I mean that's what I would recommend to most people who kind of give interviews. I mean, it's not necessary that just because you started too badly, it doesn't mean your whole interview is going to be judged on the basis of that. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, as an ending note, how do you see, using this program? How do you see this benefiting your career going forward?
So yeah, when I talk about this particular company that I'm working at currently, I mean, I definitely like to work here for a few more years because I've been associated with them for a while. Although I work like in a sort of CEO position, not formally, but in an informal way. Um, I would like to get the formal title of CEO, which is one of the reasons I've decided to do this MBA. And so that is basically my goal in the next few years after completing the course to kind of get that CEO experience and kind of grow further from there. And then we'll see where the future takes me. Maybe like move on to probably bigger companies, bigger multinationals, kind of work in like senior positions out there. And eventually in the next say 5 to 10 years, using the qualifications of my master, which is my MS and this MBA and all my work experience, probably aim to be a CEO of a bigger company than this is what I'd probably aim for in the next 10 years. So yeah, that's generally what my goals would be like in the next 5 to 10 years, and then short term would be right here in this company. So yeah,
Absolutely. Excellent. And I'm sure you'll make it happen. Thanks so much for sharing these experience with us, Aditya. And all the best
thank you.
for your MBA.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
We hope you found this interview helpful. At MBA Crystal Ball, we've helped many applicants get into the elite business schools, often with scholarships. Reach out if you're looking for professional help with your applications. Good luck.